So yeah, I got to the Marine Corps, and the first time the drill instructor laid into me, I was like, "Oh, you really effed up now, buddy." I had 8 minutes until the possibility of living or dying was very real. But the ideal was that it started me on this quest for making sense out of this world we're in, because I realized that the music and the ceremonies happen after you've gone through hell and back. And it also started helping me connect with my dad. Literally a couple of days before he died, we had this amazing conversation. But in this moment, he said that there must be something in you if you were able to do that. That's something I had not heard. And I was able to say to him that I can see what you've been through. So making those connections is just crazy important, because there's so much healing right there. And at that point, then what we're talking about is really getting down into your heart. Because before that, it's a lot of head game, a lot of manipulation, and just the darkness of the world.
Everybody has some role that we play throughout our lifetime that as we change, like our identity and who we be, that role is always a part of us. And if it's not a part of us, we go search for it, right? And it's conscious or it's unconscious for some people. And so I would say, as I was listening to your journey, that role that has been continuous is this like heart-centered rebel, right? Like, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to challenge, the status quo.
We don't really consciously understand that this is what we're doing all the time, with our spouse, with our children, with our neighbors, with our community, with our coworkers, with the media we watch, the books we read, the things that we're putting in our minds. Our words have immense power, right? How are we using our words? So we're either tuning, like actively, consciously walking into a room and holding our power and our strength, plucking our violin string, metaphorically, and resonating our world instead of the world resonating us. So that really reflected in what you're discussing here with, doing good daily.
Welcome to Harmonize Your Life, conversations that inspire, awaken, and harmonize. I'm your host, Kingsley Willis, and each week we talk with experts in functional medicine, therapy, technology, quantum biology, and personal growth. Today I've got Dr. James Miles on the podcast today, along with co-founder Michael McDonald and our CEO, Amanda Carpenter. And let's just dive right into it. James, tell us how you met Michael. Start at the beginning.
Actually, the thread is Amanda and Heart Math. Through that, we have Patrick Narduli, and he was like, "Hey, you need to kind of look at the stuff that Amanda's doing. She's with this crew of folks. You need to check it out." And of course, the busy guy dabbles. And then I don't remember how we got him back on that call, but I know I reached out to say, "Hey, Amanda, let's just connect." And then through that, I came to a call, and there was Michael. And Michael talking, I was like, "Hey, I need to talk to this guy and see what he's doing too." And so we got on the call.
Wonderful. And I love your background because I see the sacred geometry. I see all of the connections. So that's where my mind was going. So tell us about Heart Math. For those who don't know, how would you introduce it to folks who are not sure what Heart Math is all about?
Heart Math to me is a reflection of some really brave, forward-thinking hearts. You have Doc Childrey, you've got Roland McCready, Deb Rosman, Howard, Brian Kabaker. There's just a group, and there's a whole team. And what they spent the last 30 years doing is looking at the power of the heart to, in my language now, not theirs, to be part of the solution. And so they have really come along with research, with tools, and very practical techniques that helps a person drop into their heart. And there is a physiological power of the heart that can really regulate the heart-brain connection and help you come forward in your own journey in ways that's just transformative. And so Heart Math has done that, put it into forms that are really accessible. And then they let crazy people like me come in and get involved and spread it even more.
Wonderful. So Amanda, tell us about how you met James, and how you made that connection where you're like, oh, I've got to have him talk to Michael.
Well, I met James through HeartMath. He was actually one of my teachers. He's a master trainer with HeartMath and was leading one of the certifications that I was taking. And I don't know which one it was because there's been so many. It was pre-pandemic, and then continued through the pandemic too, because I remember I was out at HeartMath Institute in California, 2017-ish. And then Activating the Heart of Teams was a new beta program that they were launching. And that was in 2020 because I was supposed to go out to California for that, and that was online. So I think that program was the second time that James and I connected. And because you were guiding that program too, weren't you? Were you leading that program? Yeah. Okay. I thought so. And I have a special place in my heart for powerful, heart-centered men. Like I tend to zero right in on them. And so we were in some other conversations, and maybe it was through Patrick Norduli that we connected at a deeper level. And so we've been having conversations, kind of behind the scenes relative to HeartMath and just our own heart-centered journeys for a couple of years now. And, sometimes there's long gaps of silence and all of a sudden we'll jump back in and poke each other. Right. And see what's happening. So, HeartMath has really changed all of the work that I do in the world. And I'm so grateful to the HeartMath Institute, all of their research, and all of those that are involved, James being one of them, to bring forward the mission. And really, HeartMath has had the science. I mean, since the 90s, the science has been there. It's been sitting right there. And I think there was a huge opportunity once the pandemic hit for HeartMath, who's always been doing the same thing, but suddenly there was a light of awareness, and I think the world was ready for it. And those of us like James, myself, and some of the other trainers within the HeartMath Institute have really integrated the research of HeartMath into everything that we do. Like I would not be as effective at what I do if I didn't have the research of the HeartMath Institute to lean on. Like it has really proven, if you will, and I put that in quotes because research has a human element to it, right? But it has really proven the bridge between the quantum world and the spiritual world, the bridge between Newtonian physics and the spiritual world. Like it has really, we can see what happens at the level of the heart, So that's one of the things that just has caused me to lean in. And as soon as I found the HeartMath Institute, I knew that it was going to be a key piece of the mission and all of the work that I do in the world. And when I met Michael in March of this year, I knew, we don't have the science to prove it yet, if you will, but I know that the platform has an impact on our heart rate variability. And it's just a matter of time before we have the research to show that. But in my experience and all the research from HeartMath Institute, I have no doubt that the platform is impacting the physiology of the human heart.
That will be fun to measure.
Mm-hmm.
It really will. And just to throw in, Amanda, when you first took the training, you had talked about transitioning from the way you were showing up in your work. And that was the intriguing thing that we first talked about when we got on a call about that, because I was really intrigued by just how you showed up and what you were doing. So that was actually our first call. Now, as you were saying that, I just remembered that.
Oh, well, thank you for remembering that. That's bringing back the industrial athletic world, because I took HeartMath to the industrial athletic world to show that the rhythm of the heart impacts the access that we have to our brain, which can actually impact, accidents and injuries. And so a very, masculine, hardworking use of the physical body world, it was amazing to see them drop into their hearts and use their hearts. And so when I first got involved in HeartMath, I'm like, oh, what will these really masculine men think? And my higher self knew better. And I just had to keep reminding myself, they all have a heart. They all have a heart. And they received it so well. And there's amazing stories and lives that have been saved because of heart rate variability and what the HeartMath Institute has done and the training that we brought to the industrial athletic world.
Very cool. I'm wondering, Michael, how do you see the tie-in between what you're doing at Aya to HeartMath? Can you talk about that?
Well, it's interesting because, really diving into Dr. Miles's work at Resilient Village and doing good daily, he's really pioneering a new, I don't know how to explain it, but it's a teaching, right? They offer courses and teachings on how to elevate and do good daily. And it's all around being heart-centered. And, Amanda really brought the whole heart-centered, heart math reality, into the forefront for me. And since then, my life has been changed because of it. I mean, we even have heart-centered AI because of her. And seeing what James is doing, I just see this beautiful synergy. I don't know what it looks like yet, but we're on the same path, just using different tools to do it. So I see a synergy of us possibly adding value to what he's currently doing, and what he's doing adding value to what we're currently doing. There's a great overlap there. And when James and I spoke a few days ago, I was really excited to bring forth his story. I mean, from boarding school to his path to college, to his path to heart math and ultimately Resilient Village. I would love to hear, James, if you could kind of give us, who you are, because you're such a brilliant human, bringing such a powerful message. And I want everybody to hear how you got to where you're at now.
I'm working on becoming brilliant. I don't know. One day I'll get there. But I call myself
humble too.
I with truthful joking, I call myself the quintessential Forrest Gump. But you're absolutely right. I was born in Chicago, and I'll just give the kind of key bullet points on it. My dad was one of the first African-American district commanders in the city of Chicago. And so while that was just a huge thing, and we're going back to, the 50s and 60s time period, which of course dates me too. And then my grandfather was also a policeman in Chicago, which was kind of unheard of before that. But needless to say, my view of community was this nurturing place. My great grandmother was right down the street from the police station. We were in another direction. At the same time, that same community threatened to bomb our house. The first time I was in court, because the guy wanted to beat me with a bat, because my father was part of the group that was arresting and doing that. So this really mixed understanding of community that I had to live in and walk in, and which blocks I could walk down or not. Moving forward, we went to Puerto Rico, where I got an exposure to the fact that there were people who lived in this world in a completely different way. My dad moved us to Puerto Rico when he retired, and being there for a few years. And so that just like, wow, there's this whole other place and way you eat, and loved it. If you want to have a good Christmas, man, Puerto Rico, they know how to celebrate the holidays. That is where it's happening. And so then coming from there, then I went to a boarding school, Kemper Military School in college in Boonville, Missouri. And just at lovely folks. And in Boonville, there was a detention home on one side of town and military school on the other. So when you say you went to school in Boonville, you had to say which side of town you were on. So I was at Kemper Military School, which is now closed. But that was another big stretch in what community is, because now I'm meeting kids from all over the world, and I'm seeing income levels like I'd never seen it before, class systems, and of course the issues of race and all that coming into play, and having to learn to navigate it. So again, now community even got more complicated with me as this kid navigating. And so I turned down an opportunity to stay there and get a commission in the Army. And I went to University of Illinois because I thought I was missing out on what the regular kids were doing.
Well, wait, let me stop you there, because there's some juicy moments in there, because your dad, right? Tell me about your dad and your decision between the Army and the Marines.
Oh my gosh. Well, he was clearly a barrier breaker. He went in the Army as a private, came out as a lieutenant colonel. Again, we got to think about the time. So that was some pretty serious stuff. So he was trying to make sure I didn't have to go through what he did. Flew into Missouri, General Blakefield, Chief Ignacio, my kind of mentor father figure there on campus, and the three men, kind of I guess hard butts. I'll clean up the language. Got me in the office, and I stood there and told them I was not going to stay. General Blakefield said, "I'll help you get into any of the academies you want, West Point, Annapolis." I looked at him. I was like, "No, because rebellious. The hell with this. I've done this. I've done what you said. I've excelled. I'm doing my thing." And so I went to the University of Illinois and just completely got bored and decided to drop out. And not only that, enlist in the Marine Corps of all the branches. And so my father was like, "You piece of whatever. I don't know. We're done." And it was tough. It was tough for a little bit there.
Well, and that's where I really connected with you too, because once a Marine, always a Marine. So I'm a Marine as well, right? And I had a very similar. Now, I didn't have the choice of going to West Point, right? So I may have made a different decision, but I still made my own path, and I didn't go the path that my father was pushing at the time. And I ended up just kind of surprised. I'm in the Marine Corps, so very similar to you. But wow, that must have been like a really tough. I mean, maybe it wasn't tough for you to turn that down, because you had a bed of roses. I mean, not that it would have been an easy road, because West Point's West Point, but still, it's like not many people get that opportunity. And some people would literally do anything for that opportunity, but what was driving you inside? Like what made you go, "Thanks, Dad, that's a great opportunity, but I have this feeling that I need to go this direction. This is the way I'm going to go." Like there must have been something monumental, a decision there. That must have been a big point in your life.
Yeah. It's disconnection. At the heart of it is disconnection. There is a place when if we connect with our head and our heart and we connect with each other, you're able to navigate some of these murky kind of decision points, I think, that all of us have. I still have today. And so clearly my own head and heart connection was just so rattled by all of these transitions. Then my dad, in so many ways, our relationship was fraught with him trying to make sure, I was rough and tumble and able to handle things, and me like, "Well, damn, can I just get a hug? What's up?" I didn't understand all that he went through himself and things about his journey. And so in the midst of those disconnections was me trying to, figure something out. And the one thing was, I'm not going to do what you all say. I've done this. I quote unquote excelled at the military school, when a lot of people did not think I would, for varying reasons. But I excelled in spite of some of the roadblocks, I should say, and really moved up. So this idea, like, if I could do this here, let me go there and do something else. But I was just completely disconnected from, one, the reality of the support I actually had, the uniqueness of the opportunity, as you said. But rebellion is rebellion, and I think it generally comes from disconnection and pain.
Interesting. That's powerful. Yeah. I'm curious. So let's pick up on the story again. So you're in the Marines.
Yeah.
What happens next?
So I got to the Marine Corps, and the first time a drill instructor laid into me, I was like, "Oh, you really effed up now, buddy." It was real clear. But here's the way, just the universe. For me, I'm a man of faith and say God works in a lot of ways. I came out honor man in boot camp, which means I was the top graduating private. Michael, you know the deal. So I was honor man for platoon, and I was honor man for the series. I wasn't, another guy beat me as honor man for the company. So when you're honor man, which is considered an honor from the title, that means, so there were 80-something guys in my platoon, and there were 4 platoons in the series. So I graduated the top recruit out of that bunch. You get to pick your own profession, or MOS, military occupational specialty, so long as you have the scores. So of course, this is Marine Corps fashion. I had all of 2 seconds to tell them what occupation I wanted. And so I had one time in Chicago, got a chance to touch a computer. Now this is the 70s. So we're going back. So anyway, he said, what do you want? I said, computers. I thought I'd answered it. Then he said, programming operations. Blew me away. I didn't know there was an option. So I said, operations. I didn't know. And then I got to computer science school and graduated in the top of that class. And so that got me assigned to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And then that's where this ideal of the bigger world came into play. Because, that's the top of the military command food chain. Is very skewed, very odd, not the best first duty assignment. And the Marines, whenever I got back to training, they always gave me an extra butt kicking to make sure I had not lost the fact that I was a Marine. Michael, I'm sure you could imagine that. But the ideal was that it started me on this quest for making sense out of this world we're in, because I realized that the music and the ceremonies happen after you've gone through hell and back. They don't happen before. And then I realized that, in fact, in one case, the job I had, I knew that under certain circumstances, I only had 8 minutes to live. And within those 8 minutes, we had to accomplish certain things. Let's just say that I had 8 minutes until the possibility of living or dying was very real. You never know. But the ideal of just having all that kind of information and the other things I was exposed to really opened me up to the quest I'm on, to be more focused on the quest I'm on today through some other channels. And it also started helping me connect with my dad. Because all of a sudden now, he figured, and he said it to me literally, and just the way things work, literally a couple of days before he died, we had this amazing conversation. But in this moment, he said that there must be something in you if you were able to do that. That's something I had not heard. And I was able to say to him that I can see what you've been through. So making those connections is just crazy important, because there's so much healing right there. And at that point, then what we're talking about is really getting down into your heart. Because before that, it's a lot of head game, a lot of manipulation, and just the darkness of the world. And so that was kind of a big thing about the Pentagon and that early part. I had 10 years in the Marine Corps. The first, say, 5, 6 years was just navigating that space. And then also brought me on a quest of what is spirituality. How decisions are made, because world leadership can be so disillusioning if you are really hearing leaders and people who are supposed to be in the know, how they come about decisions. You're like, oh my gosh, there's got to be something else. And so for me, it was just, what does that mean for where I'm going?
Love that. I love that. That story, especially about your father. I think we all can relate to that. Those moments where you're trying to kind of like live up to what your father wants, but you're also trying to like make him proud. And ultimately it's about just that connection, right? Which I think is a whole, we could do series after series about how males connect to each other, because especially in the military, not that I know a lot about it, but, I have some friends who've been in the military, Michael, one of them, friends have been Marines, how we relate to each other. I think in my case, sports had a lot to do with connecting with my father. But let's talk more about that connection with your father, because it sounds like you kind of came to a series of crossroads, and you said you have like 3 seconds to decide, is it program or is it operations? So how did you make those decisions? Like, what were those? And did you regret the program versus operations?
That's the Forrest Gump stuff. Like why I chose the Marine Corps. I knew with the Army, the Kemper was an Army school, so I kind of had a dose of the Army stuff. I dabbled on the Navy side, Air Force. Because remember at that point, young kid, I want the challenge and the growth. And the regular kids were boring. They kept saying, wow, you're deep. And I was like, what, are you shallow? What the hell is this deep thing? I'm just here. And so the ideal of in those moments, you kind of get that, what that instinct is. And sometimes I think we have amazing breakthroughs when we just trust. And when those pressure points, a lot of times I was just left with instinct. There wasn't a lot of time to process, So the Marines, I saw this Marine going down the hall. I was like, wow, those guys are crazy. Let me see what that's about. And almost every Marine has some version of why they chose the Marine Corps over the other branches. But then like as you said, Kingsley, I'm saying to Kingsley, as you said, Kingsley, then the ideal at that moment, it was just like, you got to give an answer. I mean, this is like near the end of boot camp, so you just know, give an answer, don't volunteer, do what you got to do, and do it to the best of your ability. So I thought operations, because that just sounded like the big stuff, was the thing. And so, just doing it. And then, of course, when you're in it, which was big about the Marine Corps, taught me that when you get dropped off, you're going to do whatever you're going to do. If you don't leave, they get you for AWOL. I mean, once you're in, you got to do what your orders are called for. When you're there, you're going to do what you need to do to survive, and you're going to do what you need to do with your buddies. It's really about your team and managing the situation. It's all that glory and stuff, that's like later. And so there were so many moments when you're just in it, working it out. And remember, for me, community had all these layers of complexity. So that was just another version of the same thing. By the time I got there, this ideal of dynamic spaces was just part of my DNA, and working through it. But the question is, how do you work through it? And how do you navigate both the situation and the personal connections? And so my dad, I was carrying him with me. And I'll throw one quick story in as an example. When he came to visit me at one point, I was a senior cadet officer at the military school. And everybody was singing my praises and how great a leader I was and how this, that, and the other, because those schools can really hyper develop you. I mean, I was a really great leader. But I wouldn't play basketball because they expected the tall black guy to play basketball. So I was like, no, I'm going to do what you don't expect me to do. Again, fighting these elements. So anyway, my dad came to visit during one of the parents' weekends, and he says, you're not doing so good. And I looked at him like he was crazy. I felt like, oh man, what are you talking about? Everybody's telling you how good I was. Well, fast forward a couple of decades later, I saw what he saw. He could look at the way I was managing my space and could tell that I wasn't healthy on the inside. But I wasn't able to hear it. Now, here's a man who had led all kinds of people, been through all kinds of changes himself. Whether we like all his decisions or not is not the issue, but that experience, and he was trying to share it, but disconnect. I didn't have enough of the connection to trust. And I'm listening to all this. And of course, I'm just trying to survive. So you stuff it down. You don't deal with a lot of your issues. So when he said that, years later, I saw myself handling some stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what he was trying to tell me. Here it is. And so, that like examples like that also start to shape, when I have discoveries, and then I try to make my decisions better.
Love it. Yeah, this is so fascinating. Just hearing your story about, how the path you take to get where you are. Okay, so explain how does the doctor thing? I'm assuming it's a PhD, right? Tell us the story of how you got from Marine to doctorate, because I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So my last tour of duty was part of a group in Quantico, Virginia, where we were not only designing what at that time would be considered like a metropolitan area network. We were working on really kind of cutting edge stuff. IBM had a team permanently assigned on base that we worked with because we were that kind of out there on the cutting edge. Anyway, I remember from that first round of experiences, I started questioning spirituality. And so I got involved with the church, and because that was the mode for that I understood. And that led to me, then when I got out, it led to me becoming a minister in the Baptist church. When I got out, then I met a guy named Dr. Kane Hope Felder. And Dr. Kane Hope Felder was a amazing scholar and gentleman who he specialized in New Testament language and literature. So, just spoke multiple languages. I got a chance to become his grad assistant because initially I just wanted to study and learn. I had no interest in really being in the pulpit like that. And so he convinced me. We were in Israel on a trip, and there's a whole nother piece there. But we were in Israel, got into a whole debate, and he agreed to mentor me. And so I would meet with him every other week. So this couldn't turn us down because he was considered one of the top scholars in this area. And he looked at race, class, and gender in the Bible. So I had not heard anybody talk about that. I hadn't heard anybody talk about Black presence in the Bible. Like, what is this? Oh my goodness. And this whole expansive world. He was the reason why I was going into Egypt each year, doing things with them and on and on. So that led to me, he convinced me to go to Howard Divinity School, where I worked on did a Master's of Divinity instead of a Master's of Arts. The Master of Divinity is kind of the professional side of it, which is designed to, educated clergy in the pulpit. And he made sure I took classes like with Ephraim. I did a piece with Ephraim Isaac out of Princeton. I did just a lot of things because Kingdom felt that was his space. He really made sure I was groomed and developed theologically and socially, which is a big thing about connection because just like we're socializing behavior, our nervous system is socialized. All those things, learning how to connect them and to debunk all the stuff that we've been taught. And so that was painful to me because I was taught so many things that I had to realize weren't right, weren't accurate, but the world revolves around these for power dynamics and other reasons. And people are afraid to do different. So I did that one. Now, so my first doctorate was actually a doctorate of ministry out of Virginia Union, and where I worked on looking at how to finance economic development through faith-based channels, through faith-based organizations. That was really the first one. And you can see, again, it's different. Being in the church space and I'm talking about finance and economic development, almost got put out of the program because the director didn't think it was churchy enough. And the Marine in me came out at the wrong time. And he said, what do the little old ladies think? And I said, what do you want? Because I was at a 5,000 member church at the time. So what do you want? I got them. I got them big, tall, short, skinny, fat, dark, light. I got a little ladies, and they're the ones telling me to do this, which was true. The church was actually encouraging me to keep going and help them bring the stuff back. But that was not the way to say it. So I almost got put out, and the dean of the school stepped in and said, no, we want people who are doing the unusual. Again, connections. Because if I had just followed the typical way, it would have connected to historical practice, but a disconnect from what was really needed. Because you figure on a given Sunday, millions of dollars pass through these churches. And what we were doing is looking at ways to leverage that to help bring development through those same people because they're the ones that would benefit from it. So that was my first doctorate. Then the second doctorate was a PhD. It was working with Dr. Terry Mason, who was the chief medical officer for Cook County. He was the commissioner of health for Chicago, and he was the head of public health for Cook County as well. So it's a 5 million resident county. And I worked with him to create this model called the Center for Total Health at the Cook County Health and Hospital System. And so that was that was my PhD work, is enterprise systems change, basic culture change at the enterprise level. But it was that, and the Center for Total Health was designed to help people reduce their dependency on pharmaceuticals using lifestyle change and basically food. So that was the second doctorate. But again, you can see these complexities of how we bring action into very sometimes complex community spaces.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. Well, you mentioned Princeton, so now I know the connection between us because I grew up as a faculty brat. My father was a professor of African American studies at Princeton, so there's the there's the tie-in. Well, a little tie-in.
He may know Kano Felder then, because Felder actually taught at Princeton before he came to Howard.
Okay.
He may know him. So if he, just see if he knows a Kano Felder.
Well, I wish I could ask him, but sadly he's passed.
My condolences.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's go back to Michael, and if you could talk about sort of that connection between Aya and heart math that you see, and like let's talk about the music for a second, and how all this ties in. As we know, you were also a Marine. Connect those dots for us.
Well, yeah, I mean, going back to the Marines and something James mentioned, that he won not only one, but two, what's it, the honor guide, honor man, right? So that was a big, that's the Marine Corps boot camp is tough, right? I went in it in 88. What year were you, James?
81.
81. Okay. So I imagine it was even tougher back in the early 80s. I mean, it was tough. I remember watching Full Metal Jacket like the week before I went into Marine Corps, right? So that's kind of what I was expecting.
That'll stir things up here.
And that's what I got, right? Like it was pretty close to that. Like, yeah, it's like I remember we had these huge canteens of green canteens, right?
Yeah.
And every night you had to stand at the end of your bunk, and I think there were 60 guys in our platoon, and they'd go, "Canteens, ready, drink." And so you had, 60 seconds to drink this whole big, huge container of water, right? And, there's people throwing up. And if you threw it up, you had to drink two more. Like, it was like crazy. Like, yeah, it was tough. I mean, just, the 2 a.m. wake up calls with the garbage can lid, and if you messed up, you missed chow that day. Sometimes you had 5 minutes to eat if you're lucky, right? Stuffing bread into your shirt so you could hopefully eat it later. But if you got caught, you don't get caught.
Yeah.
So knowing what it means to have earned not only one, but two, like that's a statement, of kind of what cloth you're cut from. I won the Band of Brothers Award out of MOS training, if you're familiar with that. But it's like what you've done and you've achieved just in your early life in the Marine Corps is a testament. I've got so much respect for you, James, because I know what that means, right? And that's just a little snippet of your life. Now, tying in, the music, and you said something, the music and the parades comes after, right? The hard work and the banging of trash can lids at 2 a.m. And so I feel like in my journey, from Marine, to how many years is that? It's 4 decades, almost 4 decades after, to, the founder of IAFIT, where we are, revolutionizing music. We're presenting resonance frequency music and sonic supplements. And I feel like we've moved into a time to where we've done the hard work, and now we've got this platform that is enabling and inspiring, people to step into a life that they truly want and a life that they love by consciously being the doer, right? Awake and conscious. And, as you were talking and, seeing the sacred geometry behind you and that beautiful picture, and knowing that you have, embarked in a lot of, top secret conversations, none of to be divulged on this podcast, but I sent an image to Amanda a few nights ago, and it was talking about quantum physics, and I may butcher it, but it was something like along the lines, quantum physics is where they hide spirituality, right? And through your journey, it's apparent you've become, and you may have always been, but it's evident, and you speak of this, that you've become this spiritual being, right? But you've also gone through all of the science, right? You've been in the military, you've done the education, heart math is centered on the science. So the science, and you're also a spiritual being that you recognize. And I'm curious, your thoughts on, the science and the spirituality, because I'm seeing, it's all spirituality. Like it's all, consciousness is all there is, energy and motion, right? And I'm just curious how you perceive that through all of your journey and your learnings and where you are now, with Resilient Village, do good daily. I mean, tell us about that and how you kind of bridge the science with the spirituality.
Yeah, that's really one loaded and beautiful kind of framing of that question there, Michael. So doing good daily is an evolving reality, just like music, spirituality, science. The challenge with all of that is that they expand with our own conscious awareness. And so the fact is that we just are. We are. It is, I am, period. Anything after that is about this ideal of journey and expansion or contraction. But it's about journey and how that energy is being moved and used. Music is one of the amazing ways to unlock it. And the fact is that I think we are walking music. So that one of those three guys, Chief Abraham K. Ignacio, he was actually a chief warrant officer 4 out of the Army, but he was music. So he was the bandmaster, and I played in the band through those years there at Kemper. And this understanding that when we just get to our isness, I know that's not the most, but when we get to our isness, then the idea of locating ourselves. So doing good daily is an attempt at really saying every place to go, but no place to hide. Doesn't matter where you are. Everybody can do good daily if it's nothing but the practice of breathing a little bit more friendly to your own heart and soul. Then, because just that act right there, that simple act of just slowing down for a moment, even if you're in a crisis situation, just the recognition that if I just bring in a moment to open up the possibility, there may be some other wisdom here. So doing good daily is a way of just saying that everybody can do this. We just need to practice the awareness of it. And so just like our social behaviors is conditioned, our nervous system is conditioned, our awareness can be conditioned. It doesn't mean it's always the answer, but it does mean that we'll be progressing along a path of helpful, beneficial growth in some way or another, no matter what your circumstance. And so to put that down where there's what was a universal principle that everybody, no matter what, could somehow play a part in, then is the idea that when we do good daily and keep practicing that and grow, then we can be a part of the solutions that are needed at growing levels of complexity. First it's just me connected with me. Like I was saying in the beginning, what about my head and heart? Let's not be afraid of it. Even to this day, I'm learning to embrace all my gifts because for so long, I'm not in the pulpit now. One of the reasons was me, because I was allowing that world to sometimes cloud out the fuller sense of what I understood to be my gifts and purpose. Although I was steeped in trying to make things better, although at times as a leader, I may have made them worse, but at least we tried. But the ideal of the connections within self, then with those loved ones or those closest to you or immediately in your area, and then to be a part of the solutions needed on a bigger scale, which is why I love what I'm learning about Aya, to be frank, because there's so many places where we have these phenomenal platitudes and just soul stirring. Like there's a joke that's said in the church about some sermons. They're like, wasn't that a good sermon? Wasn't that a good message? Yeah, really. What did they say? I don't know. Because I'm just so caught up in the experience of it, that concert, that composition, whatever, but the essence of it to be practical. It looks to me, Aya, I resonate with, this is my interpretations. You all are Aya, but I'm just giving my interpretation that Aya challenges us to see ways to go from just this thought into some practical expression that can have transformative potential. Now, this is not you, this is James. Even at the placebo level, there's benefit. Now, how much more beyond that? And so this ideal inside Resilient Village, how do we collaborate and partner so people can take all that power that's inside us, because we just are. It's there. Learn how to access it, not be afraid of it, and then be willing to take the chance to step out and see where it would take us. And doing good daily, it was just one of the ways we have to drive that. We look at healing, building, and thriving as the other triad. Because you're either healing, building, and the goal is to thrive in a positive way. So again, these simple ways to convert all this just amazing awareness, and it seems like it's happening at increasing rates now, that how can we just tap into it and then convert that into being part of the solutions that we so desperately need and want in our collective lives now.
That's awesome. As you're speaking about that, do good daily. I'm currently writing a chapter in a collaborative book that will be out in the first of 2025. And it's essentially around tune or be tuned, right? Like we're all vibrational, like you said, we're music, music in motion, right? And, most of us go through life, kind of in an unconscious fashion, not recognizing. Well, as an example, you're at a party and somebody walks through the door, and sometimes it's the life of the party and they're like, woo, like, let's get the party started. Other times it's another type of personality. They walk in and they're just like, they're low, they bring the energy down, right? And so that strong violin string in the violin, store, you strike that violin hard enough, then all the violins will resonate with it, right? Yeah. They'll all become in resonance, right? Yeah. Same thing at the party. You got this strong personality. They're either up or they're down, but the whole party feels it, and that entity raises the experience, and likewise, lowers it. Yeah. And we don't really consciously, understand that this is what we're doing all the time, with our spouse, with our children, with our neighbors, with our community, with our coworkers, with the media we watch, the books we read, the things that we're putting in our minds. Our words have immense power, right? How are we using our words? So we're either tuning, like actively, consciously walking into a room and holding our power and our strength, plucking our violin string, metaphorically, and resonating our world instead of the world resonating us. So that really, reflected in what you're discussing here with, doing good daily. And I'm curious, like, do you have any, I'm sure you do, some hacks, or how do you coach someone into stepping into that frame of mind, and not just once, but having it become part of their life?
Yeah. So at its simplest, we have a three-tiered model for transformation. And at the base of that tier is foundational practices. If I can just, even if I'm not fully in touch, but I know something, right, that's is just maybe out of sync, or it's working and I want to understand it better, then it's like, what are your daily habits and practices? Just what are they? Now, this needs to do our best to do this from a non-judgmental place, because that will skew how we look at things. But what are they? It doesn't matter what it is, just what are those practices? And to what degree do those daily habits and practices support where your heart is telling you want to be or go? And I can tell if my heart is saying something different than what I'm experiencing, if I keep feeling that tension or that longing, or there's something, no matter how good this moment is, there's something else. And so at the basic level, now, that there's principles, practices, and theoretical structures, but at the core of it is, what are your foundational practices? When we can look at those, then we start having something to work with. It's like having a garden to now build and seed and nurture. The next then level is, then at that middle is then integration and what we call solution sourcing. Now, in the old way of thinking, people always talk about problem-based learning. And it was amazing. We use it in so many ways across almost all of my career experiences. But really, is how much more beneficial is it to think about, I'm seeking a solution, not just looking for more problems. And so we say, then at this point, these are my practices, and how do I integrate these practices into the solutions I'm seeking? And then how can I be, because remember, I am is key. How can I be then and embody this process? So now it's not just what's going on, but how do I shape my daily practice? Even if something is good, maybe it's not the degree that I'm doing it, maybe needs to be modulated. So at that middle level is kind of, where am I trying to go with these practices? What's going on? What am I feeling that urge to accomplish, do, or experience, and why? And then how do I find solutions or efforts to experience that better? So for me, when I said that I came and started studying with Kane Felder, I was trying to understand this spiritual world, and what I was seeing wasn't giving it to me. It was amazing. I'm not, God bless those that was it for them, but I was looking for something more, and my soul would not let me rest. And then I heard this guy literally on the radio, and I went to go hear him speak, and then a lot of things happened to get us to working together. But the ideal was that I was seeking and wanted to do. So what are the solutions you're sourcing? How are you practicing it? That goes back to the foundation. Can I tweak my daily practices to align with the solutions I'm sourcing? Even if I can't analytically identify opportunity, can I energetically or spiritually just start visualizing it, connecting with it, and bringing it forward? So that's the middle area, if you get that. So the ideal of solution sourcing and integration. And then at the top, then, is new beginnings and sustainability. So now that I've got this momentum going, now can I embrace this newness? Because, if you're like me, I'll just deal with me. Each stage was also an identity transformation. And so I had to learn, when I got out the Marine Corps, I had to be okay with no longer being a Marine in uniform. So now I had to, now I still had the computers, I had all this other stuff, but I had to develop a new identity. When I stepped out of the pulpit, it was like, well, are you called or not? I had to allow this ideal of calling to evolve. So most of us have these identity and social positional opportunities for growth. So it's like new beginnings. Can I embrace and just understand these new beginnings? And then what does it mean to sustain it? Sometimes that sends me right back down to the foundational practices, because maybe I've learned something that's not meant to be sustained. It was just meant to augment. And so it becomes a very fluid, that's our basic model for change and transformation. So foundational practices, integration and solution sourcing, new beginnings and sustaining, and then learning to move up and down it. So I might be advanced along that pyramid structure in one area, but really still struggling foundation in another, and being okay because it's all me. It just is. And now we go. So that's the basic model. And you can see how doing good daily, smack in the middle, let's take judgment out and bring in that heart, brain, heart, soul connection with your sense of being and how you see the world, and start working with it.
I love it. I love it. Now I see a direct tie-in here. Let me ask you, James, if you could wave a magic wand, and you can, because you are, and it just is, right?
It is.
Where are you going to go from here? Now that you've got this foundation of knowledge, you have your programs, like what is the ultimate goal? Like what is it that you're here to ultimately do? What's the big picture?
Yeah. The big picture is that Resilient Village, the current name of that picture, is to become a place where we can come together and explore moving through that transformational model to be part of the solution we need in this world. So what does that look like? That looks like getting some of these ideas and concepts that we've been testing over the last 8 years, get them into forms and make it more accessible. And Resilient Village is to be a king and queen maker. It's not supposed to be the king and queen. And so the idea that now is not just what does Dr. James L. Miles or, the Reverend Doctor, whatever title you want to use, not that. It's like, how can we start tapping into those that are called to this, those we collaborate with, and we just keep making the wisdom and the insights more accessible so that people can take it and create and do even things that we wouldn't imagine. And so then the next piece of the Resilient Village model is then to have, we have an online learning management system. So the idea is to be able to host these collaborations and places of training for the single purpose of helping people become the solution in their own journey. It's kind of like the hero's journey, but empowered in this. And what are the tools and techniques, and who are the partners where we can learn to do that and do it better, and then be able to put it in a place in a way that people can receive it. I was taught in the ministry world that sometimes I was hurting people, or just boring to them, because I'm trying to get information and learning out. And this one way that one of my teachers said it was, if you want me to drink a strange drink, you must bring it in a cup I recognize. And so learning how to put these into cups they recognize without the cup hijacking the whole process.
Right.
And so that's the next level of mastery inside the Resilient Village space. And then, of course, third is when it's taken over by others. And it just takes on expressions, and we're able to just fund it, fuel it, support it, and have fun with it together across the globe.
Amazing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah.
And we're going to go to Craft My Sonic. And what we're going to do, James, is we're going to create a sonic supplement that will help unlock exactly what you want to elevate to your next level of being with Resilient Village, and the people that you're touching. So, first of all, let's give it a title. So, 3 or 4 words what would you like to title the sonic supplement that will unlock exactly what you want to unlock for a resilient village in your mission?
What comes to me first is thriving healers and builders.
Okay.
That's the
So what is this sonic supplement? Now think in terms that you have this, all-powerful supplement. And you can think of it in the physical form. Like you've got this supplement that you can take and it'll do this and it'll manifest this. What is the properties of this supplement that you're going to be able to take yourself and you're going to be able to offer it to your thriving community?
First would be that the right souls and energy is drawn into the Resilient Village model that can hold space and help nurture opportunity for self and others. And that we are masterful at being a part of the solutions that are needed to help just elevate humanity and the societies that humanity is housed in. And then finally, that we exceed even our own most amazing imagination and become one with just the spirit of positive possibility in our lifetimes and beyond. So hopefully that's not too much for the...
No, we can go on. Any more keywords that you'd like to infuse this? I mean, you've got the power here. Like we can go on. We like whatever you want to infuse in this supplement, we can do. So if any other
resilience,
sorry,
resilience,
okay,
regeneration, resonance, and revitalization. There's kind of a little alliteration there.
Oh, the R's, yeah, I love it.
Those would be really key. There's a game I'm playing, and soon will convert into a workbook, and it's called the Yes Mindset. And so, really bringing to life the Yes Mindset.
Beautiful. Do you feel complete with that?
Yes.
Okay, let's see what Aya gives us here.
I'm really looking forward to this.
Through the forest's wisdom, I see clearly my path illuminated by the earth's light.
So here we see, I'm going to turn down the volume. Let it play in the background. So interesting. This the first one. So we've got a 10-track sonic supplement here, and Aya curates. She turns your want into an algorithm. She matches that algorithm to the resonance frequency music collection from AyaFit, and she pairs it in specific order exactly what you're looking for. So she's bringing back frequencies in music that align with achieving that which you stated. And in the first position here, we have the third eye forest. And anytime you want to look at the intention and the meaning, you click on the tooltip here on the top right-hand corner of it. And through forest wisdom, I see clearly my path illuminated by the earth's light. This is at 7.83 hertz frequency, known as the Schumann resonance. Represents the earth's electromagnetic heartbeat. The natural frequency emerges from the space between the earth's surface and the ionosphere. So we see that in the situation. And it's kind of like the opening of the third eye. And interesting, we have a lot of tracks here from the same collection, Bowls of Nature. The second one is the challenge situation here. This track highlights the immediate challenge or obstacle that the Koran is facing in relation to their current situation to represent hurdles or difficulties that need to be addressed or navigated. So in order for us to achieve this, which we wrote, so this is something that this frequency and the intention of this track and the way this track was produced is helping to navigate that. And interesting, we have third eye as the situation, third eye forest, third eye night, right, in the challenge position, right? So very interesting. Into the focus section here, this is track indicates where the Koran's attention or effort should be directed, suggests the key areas or aspects to better manage the situation or achieve desired outcomes. So the focus right now is fulfillment through selflessness. And I don't know if that rings true for you, but I feel intuitively that that's kind of where you're coming from right now, is that this resilient village for you, and you said it perfectly, we're not about being the kings and the queens. We're here to make kings and queens. Like I can totally resonate with that. And so that is fulfillment through selflessness. What are your thoughts around that, James?
I would agree. I probably should have said benevolent kings and queens.
Yes.
Because it's not a domination over, but a servant leader. And supporting those who are already on the path. So yes. Beautiful. And then the recent past, we go into the Seven of Wands, and let's go ahead and just click on that for a second, and we'll take a listen.
The Seven of Wands track. It signifies perseverance, defending one's position, or facing challenges head-on. It might be pointing towards situations of standing one's ground, resilience, or warding off competition. The track strengthens your resolve, ensuring you stay true to yourself.
So let me turn that down for a second. We'll take a look here. So let me turn it down. There we go. Okay, so this is the recent past from where you're emerging from in your quest to achieving this mission. So by choosing the Seven of Wands track, it signifies perseverance, defending one's position, or facing challenges head on. It might be pointing towards situations of standing one's ground, resilience, or warding off competition. Now, from your story, James, that you've told us within this last hour, I mean, I'm seeing this card written all over that. I don't know what has transpired within the immediate recent past, but maybe you can give us some insights to that and how this kind of fits into the here and now for you.
Sure, I'll be very transparent. The ups and downs of the entrepreneurial side of all this is that I just came off of an amazing 2 months of travel, training, and interaction to come back and only find that 2 of my key clients have decided to postpone some of the contract that we had in place. And so you get those kind of moments where you have to just still understand and believe in what you're doing. And of course, I have others who want me to go back to the old way of doing business development, but that's not the path. The path is a more transformative way. And so just trusting and moving in it and being able to do that in a way that positions us to not worry and still be present. With those that do want this kind of work and are ready for it.
Incredible.
So that's hot off the press. Hope maybe by the time this airs, that all that will be done and there will be nothing.
Well, let's continue looking at this 10-track sonic supplement, because this will give us insight and clues into that. So the possibilities that we're moving into right now. And you can hear that. Again, another one from Bowls of Nature collection. And possibilities. So this track explores opportunities or paths the coherent might consider. It opens up different prospects or alternative ways of thinking about a situation. So again, we can dive deeper into this one. So I'm deeply connected to the earth, drawing strength and stability from its core. Now, this is your possibility right now. So there's a possibility, and I don't know, maybe you're already doing this, but are you a type of person to put your bare feet in the cool grass or go on a nature hike or just, be one with nature for a period of the day? Because this is telling us that this is a possibility for you in the now to help kind of usher in the new.
I love the reminder. I love that. And for the last maybe 3 weeks, I have not really been doing that. And so I love that reminder. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is urging you to do what you do, that whatever it is, that where you feel connected to the earth and all that is, and to breathe it in and to feel the sun on your face. So, however you do that, this supplement is telling you, hey, that's what's needed right now. And then moving into the near future, and interesting, because like I said, I keep saying this, it's ironic, or perfect, universal timing, that you have so much from the same collection of bowls of nature, right? This is all, nature sounds with different Tibetan bowls to really help you ground out. And this, I would urge you, I'm going to save this and send this to you, James. And this is something that you can listen to in the background. You could meditate to it. You can move your body to it. And, if you're anything like me or Amanda, you love to move your body to music. And that's a great way to release old energies that no longer serve you. So there's some tracks in here that will definitely get your heart moving. But the near future, we're moving into crown-mooned pond here.
My mind mirrors the depth of the earth, serene and full of life's pulse.
Yeah, my mind mirrors the depth of the earth, serene and full of life's pulse. So again, another one at the frequency of the Schumann resonance. It's urging you to commune with nature, and that's your near future. Your power position is root moon melt, and this is your power strength. This is what you've got.
The earth's comforting embrace, grounded and free.
So I let go, sinking into earth's comforting embrace, grounding and free. So this, right? Like you inherently know the power of communing with nature and grounding and how that can energize you and just bring new awareness, new thinking to the forefront. And then the environment, that which surrounds you, is flexible strength. So, and that to me is you. Like, you are strong, you're flexible. When life tests you, be like a willow, strong enough to stand your ground, but flexible enough to bend without breaking. Now, that's exactly how I see you, James. Do you have anything that you'd like to add to that?
We are adopting the tree of life as a core symbol. I see that on the wall back there. But this idea of understanding that it may not feel good, but that bend and flex, to lean into it so we can grow. And I see myself going through a season of change where actually I'm having to let go of some relationships while embracing new ones, and understand that as part of that movement, even if it feels a little uncomfortable or even scary, to be candid.
Wow. Amazing. Well, now we're moving into your hopes. And this track represents the coherent's aspirations, wishes, or best case scenarios regarding the situation. It sheds light on what the coherent is hoping to achieve or what they desire from the outcome. And again, another one from the Bowls of Nature collection.
Each dawn, I am reborn with the earth, grounded and refreshed.
So each dawn, I'm reborn with the earth, grounded and refreshed. I'm really just intuitively getting here, James, that your communing with nature is a key, not only for your personal well-being journey that you're on, but also for the insight and the vitality that will be needed in order to bring your vision to its full maturity. That I know you see it as this amazing tool that helps millions upon millions across the globe.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm really seeing that your partnership with nature is going to be a key driver, and it'll also, I believe, will become, if it's not already, a piece of your teaching. And when you mentor people to become stepping into their greatest selves through doing good daily, I have a feeling that, again, and I preface this, and if it's not already part of the curriculum, that communing with nature in a specific, powerful way will be a part of that solution.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, Michael. There was sometime in probably 2007, 2008, I was involved with the International Society of Sustainability Professionals. And I was even on the board of directors for a period. But one of the things that there was two other guys and myself, we would go into, for 6 years, we went to high schools teaching leadership based on these environmental principles. Like it could be biomimicry, it could be many things, but bringing that sense of nature and the lessons from nature in. So that's inside the foundation of Resilient Village. And we actually, and there's very specific, applications that we use for that, including a community development training program that we have. So you're absolutely right. And it's beautiful. It's amazing.
Wow. Look at this journey, right? So we started at the first position, Third Eye Forest, right? We're meditating there. We've got the sun in the background, and we've moved all the way to the 10th, the outcome, which is, ironically, resilient frequency, right? Resilient village, resilient frequency. And you see how strong and formidable this image is, right? There's just pure strength, vitality, confidence, like we've arrived, right?
Yeah.
And so let's take a quick listen to this for a good 30 seconds, and we'll.
In the symphony of life's challenges, let your resilience be the frequency that stands out. Amidst the clash of sounds, discover and amplify your unique tone, a beacon in the storm of adversity.
Wow. Wow. So, I don't know about you guys, but I felt that.
Yeah. You got me wishing I could have that music you use in some of these workshops I'm doing.
Well, you can. This sonic supplement, I just saved it for you.
Okay.
And that is yours. So you can express that how you'd like.
Okay.
And I'll share that once we get off. I'll send that to you.
Okay.
But just to show you, it's there in the chat too. Boom. It's that easy.
Great.
But wow. Tell me your thoughts.
Synergy. If I had to come, synergy and expansion are two words that are coming up. I've been embracing the invitation to lean into the journey even more, and I just love it. And as I share what I thought from my first impression of the Aya platform, and of course being able to talk with you all, is just this sense of kindredness and the ideal of how without even knowing all the details, and of course I keep digging through that, but how this can be leveraged to share with others for their journey as an example of that conversion. And so that's just, and I'm feeling grateful, humbled to be really, as I'm feeling what's inside, there's a big degree of humility that's powerful. Not that, destabilizing type of humility. And so I accept the invitation to keep growing, and you all are a part of that.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, I want to focus on Amanda for a second, because she's our leader. She's the CEO of IFIT, and she's been so patiently just observing and witnessing the unfolding of this conversation. But I know that she has, a viewpoint. Tell us, Amanda, what you've experienced here over the last 30 minutes.
Yeah. So, well, James, I've known bits and pieces of your story, but to hear your story, all together and all at once is so amazing. So thank you for sharing it. And I would say that, like, going back to the beginning of your story, everybody has some role that we play throughout our lifetime that as we change, like our identity and who we be, that role is always a part of us. And if it's not a part of us, we go search for it, right? And it's conscious or it's unconscious for some people. And so I would say, as I was listening to your journey, that role that has been continuous is this like heart-centered rebel, right? Like, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to challenge, the status quo. And even like one of the first conversations that you and I had was around law enforcement and just like, how do we break through that? They're sitting there, they're prisoners in our trainings. And, how do you break through that? And, it was at a time where it was a greater challenge to break through that. And really I don't believe anybody's an expert of anything until they've held the emotional experience of something. So it doesn't matter the degree, the accolades, none of that matters. What matters is what emotional situations did we find ourselves in where we were desperate. Like when we are in an emotional state of desperation, all rationalization and reasoning go out the window, right? Yeah. And to me, it's those life experiences that build the true expertise of who we're here to be, right? The true expert, right? So these pieces of your journey that I hear, heart-centered rebel, when you went back with your dad and you said, I can see what you've been through. You said, I can see what you've been through. But the way that I interpret that is I can feel what you've been through, right? Like we carry the trauma of 7 generations within us. And because you've done it differently, look at what work you've done for your ancestors. Mm-hmm. And you're not carrying what happened to your ancestors forward in this life, right? You are that heart-centered, grounded individual who's going to do it differently and do it with love every step of the way. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I just so appreciate about you and love you for. You've got that powerful masculinity, but with such a gentle heart. So thank you for the resilience that you've had. Thank you for everything that you went through over those years, being a Black man in the Marines when you were, even growing up in inner city Chicago when you were, it was not easy, right? And that's a level of expertise that you carry in your cells that I don't carry, right? Like, what that feels like. And so I so appreciate the fact that you were able to feel that and to move forward in life to guide others. Because another thing you said is people are afraid to be different. Yeah. And you were not afraid to be different, right? So that's who you're here to lead. You're here to lead people into their difference, if you will, which is really our beingness, right? Our uniqueness. Yeah. You're here to make them feel safe as they step into their unique, authentic selves of who they are, and to protect them, because Dr. James Miles is not somebody to be messed with. He might have a very gentle heart, but he does it with power, right? And so you make people feel loved and protected as they step into their uniqueness. And I so appreciate you for that. So, thank you for everything that you've been through in life. And thank you for always following your heart, those little synchronicities that you shared throughout your story of just whether it was instinct or knowingness. Sometimes when we're put under pressure, we make the right decision, right? And so there's got to be something higher at play here. Like, we all know it on this call, right? Like, we are not all that. So, and I believe it's those moments when we're never alone, right? That something comes in and helps us. And if we stay present, those synchronicities will always show up and guide us. And so your story proves that, to the success that you now have. And I can also hear that you're in another transition of letting a previous piece of you go and stepping into this newness. And I know your wings are going to catch you. And I'm right there to give you a big mama bear hug and say, yes, play bigger. You can do it. Look at what you've done every step of the way. So
take that hug.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So thank you so much for being you. Thank you for sharing your story with everyone. And I'm so excited to see what you continue to do in this world and what we together with Aya and Resilient Village can do in this world.
Well, let it be recorded. I'm going to borrow that heart-centered rebel. That resonated.
Good. That is your role, right? Remember we talked about yesterday, roles? Like, what is your role? That is your role.
That resonated. So thank you. Thank you, Amanda.
You're welcome.
Much love. Thank you.
Wow, that's a wonderful way to end our conversation, which I hope continues. And I will call you the Reverend Dr. James Miles from now on. I love that ring, the heart-centered rebel. I appreciate you coming on our show today, and thank you to Michael for suggesting it, and Amanda for your insights as always. I'm glad you're on the show. Thank you again, all of you.
Kingsley, I'm hoping I get a chance to hear about your journey a bit too at some point.
Yes, well, we're gonna have to do a part 2.
Well, thank you all. This is the timeliness of this for me cannot be underestimated, and we'll unpack that down the road. But I would really mean that. Thank you all so much.
Beautiful. Thank you, James. It was wonderful. Much love. I'm looking forward to growing this relationship and just seeing where our paths and values align.
Absolutely. We'll make it happen.
Yep.
Yeah. And Amanda, we will continue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Love you, James. Love you.
Love you too.
Well, we should definitely do a part 2 after you dive deeper into the Aya platform, after you listen to the Sonic Supplement, down the road. Let's do part 2.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Harmonize Your Life. We hope you found inspiration and practical insights to enhance your well-being. Until next time, stay well and keep shining.